Good evening, everyone. Welcome to our Prospective Families info session. I'm Wynette Caesar. I am the principal at Bugs. We are excited to have you with us today. We're going to get started. As people trickle in, we'll get them caught up. We can answer questions in the chat. The chat will be turned off until around, I think, 6 or a little after 6 p.m. So that we can get through some of the slides, so you can meet the team, some of our students who are eagerly waiting to tell you all about bugs. So I will just get us moving along. Next slide, please. All right, so today's program includes, all about bugs. You will meet some Bugs sixth graders and teachers. You will hear about a day in the life of a student at Bugs, our sustainability approach, the STEM and humanities programs at Bugs, and again, just general life at Bugs, all that we do that we can tell you about in under 2 hours. And we have a student panel to answer some questions for you and interview some folks. And then you will hear next steps about how to apply and what happens after the application. Some program notes. This session is being recorded and will be posted on our Bugs website. The link is there. You can raise your hand in the chat. And again, the chat will open around 6 or thereabouts. Next slide, please. I'm going to turn it over to our family engagement coordinator, Marilyn Perez.
Good evening, families, and thank you so much for joining us. Again, my name is Marilyn Perez, and I am the Family Engagement Coordinator. And I'm just going to walk you through a few little steps to turn on your captions. So if you would need captions to be turned on, please find the 3 little buttons that are next to the hang up. Once you click there, you're going to select settings. On the left, you'll see captions. Please go on the right where it says captions in blue, and you're going to turn on that button. Make sure it's blue. Leave language of the meeting in English because that's what we'll be speaking. And then it says translated caption. You're going to turn that one on and translate to and select the language of your preference. So, para las familias que hablan español, si quieres el mensaje en español para que puedas entender, le vas a dar a los 3 botoncitos abajo. Ahí vas a buscar la palabra setting, después vas a ver captions, le das al botón donde está el cuadrado con las 2C, después le das el botón en el lado derecho para que lo puedas prender, vas a dejar el mensaje en inglés porque así que estamos hablando, vas a prender para tener los mensajes traslado, vas a darles ese botón, entonces tienes que escoger el lenguaje español para que lo puedas entender, ¿ok? Y ya ahí afuera, terminé. I'm done here, so on to the next slide.
Thank you, Marilyn. So let me tell you a little bit about the Bugs mission. Our mission here is to provide a hands-on interdisciplinary education to young adolescents of all abilities and backgrounds with a focus on real-world problem solving and the exploration of environmental, social, and economic sustainability. Bug students will excel in the core academic subjects, that is reading, writing, math, social studies, and science, and become engaged community members who are critical thinkers, prepared to achieve excellence in high school and beyond. So applying to Bugs is separate from the DOE application. We wait sometimes to see how the DOE placements go before we do our lottery, giving families enough time to make decisions about where they really want their students to attend. You can apply to both and receive seats to both. So that is where you would really have to consider and make those decisions. Next slide, please. I'm going to tell you a little bit about bugs. On the right of the screen, you will see some of our most recent, as in 2023, ELA and math state test scores. We are proud to say that our scores keep getting better and better every year. And we are also, as of last year, exceeding the district and the state scores in ELA and math. So with all that we do in our teaching and learning program, we have experienced caring faculty, I'm proud to say, who are excited about teaching middle school. We have a co-teaching or ICT model in which two teachers collaborate together to teach a subject area and share prep times, collaboration times. We provide consistent professional development, but we also encourage teachers to seek out professional development to help them be successful in the classroom and to help students succeed and meet individual student needs. We practice standards-based learning, ensuring real-time feedback and student understanding. Standards-based learning focuses very specifically on skills and concepts within the New York City, New York State next generation learning standards. So the skills and concepts are pulled out of the standards for New York State and are taught specifically based on students' needs. Feedback is given, and students are able to get a good understanding of their own individual learning progression. We prepare students for high school by providing access to high school Regents curriculum and Regents exams in living environment and Algebra 1 in the 8th grade. So students don't have to take them, but we do prepare them, and we work with students and families to decide if it is the best option for their individual student. And on average, teachers stay at Bugs 5 years or more, average education of 9.5 years in the education system. So this is a little bit about what we do, an overview. You're going to hear a lot more from our students and our staff about what getting an education, working at Bugs, and learning at Bugs is all about. Next slide, please. It is my pleasure to introduce you to some of our 6th grade teachers, and they're going to then introduce you to some of our 6th grade students. I'm going to start with Miss Monica.
Hi, I'm Miss Monica. My name is Monica Houghton. I am a 6th grade special education writing teacher at Bugs. This is my 2nd year at Bugs. I love teaching here because we really value student voice, as you'll see in this session. It's also a place where everyone is really free to be themselves. And a highlight from this year teaching at Bugs was our Harvest Festival. It was our 10-year anniversary celebration. And kids got to show off their school to their families and friends who came along. And I even got to paint with some produce from the school garden.
Great, thank you, Miss Monica. Next up, we have Mrs. Davis.
Hi, I'm Miss Davis. My name is Lucy. I teach 6th grade science. And actually the picture on the screen right now is my classroom from an open classroom the other day. Some of my favorite moments this year have to be all of the hands-on project-based learning that we do. Kids have made solar ovens, we built windmills, and in this picture on the screen right now, we were presenting our animal research projects where students got to play with our turtles and our goldfish and our crayfish, and Jude the Xenopus frog, and really be hands-on with the living environment in our classroom. So I love that Bugs is a project-based school.
Great, thank you, Mrs. Davis. And next we have Miss Louisa.
Hi, my name is Louisa. The kids know me as Miss B. I'm one of the 6th grade math teachers. I think one of my favorite things about teaching at Bugs is that Like Miss Davis said, we get to do a lot of project-based learning, and we're also near so many awesome green spaces like Prospect Park and historic Greenwood Cemetery. So we did an awesome project where we 2 weeks ago where we went and we found out the age of trees by finding the circumference and then figuring out the growth factor. And it was just really cool to get to see the kids applying everything they're learning in math in like a physical setting. And then I think also one of my favorite memories this year is I'm also the Dungeons and Dragons club leader. And nothing better than a kid just like roaring in the middle of a classroom in Draconic because they're so passionate about what's going on in D&D. So it's just really cool because I get the math aspect and then I get the kind of cool creativity aspect as a club leader as well. I'm going to pass it back to Miss Monica, who's going to introduce some great students to share more about bugs.
Thanks, Miss B. So lucky to be on a team with Miss B and Miss Davis. I am lucky enough to get to introduce 4 amazing 6th graders, Sophia, Teo, Sadie, and Mia, who are here to tell a little bit more about their experience at Bugs so far this year. And we're going to start off with Sophia.
Hi, my name is Sophia Vecchioni. I'm a 6th grade student at Bugs. So just like you, I went through the middle school process. It can be really nerve-wracking. But when I turned toward Bugs, it was great because I saw a loving community with understanding teachers. I was still nervous, though, of bigger kids and getting to know my new school. But don't worry, Bugs is a really caring and fun, comfortable environment for kids. One way we make sure kids feel excited about learning is through our hands-on activities. This includes sustainability class, working in gardens, and going on a monthly field studies out in the community. This year, I have loved going on field studies and learning about health, food, justice, and qualities of earth that I had no idea about before going to Bugs.
Thanks, Sophia. Teo, are you here?
Hi, yes.
Amazing.
So my name is Teo, and I'm going to be talking about kind of lunch off campus and the recess yard. So when I first came to Bugs, one of the main things I was nervous about was going out to lunch. And at Bugs, once a student is kind of used to the school and how kind of the day works and the neighborhood, they, with parents' permission, are allowed to go out to lunch with their friends. So even though we don't have phones at out to lunch or during the day, there will always be teachers and staff posted around different areas around the neighborhood. So if you ever have a question or need help, you can always go to them. Another thing is that you're never forced to go out to lunch. You can always go for free lunch in the cafeteria. Another thing is that the schoolyard is awesome. There's always fun equipment and fun structures that you can play on and kind of hang out with friends. Another thing that we like to do during different weeks, during the month, is in the cafeteria, whenever we have something to celebrate, we can always, sometimes we'll do karaoke, sometimes we'll do art projects, sometimes we'll do all kinds of different things. So it's super fun to have like spirit weeks and like just different activities to do throughout the day.
Thanks, Teo. Thanks for sharing that. Sadie, let's hear from you.
Hi, I'm Sadie, and I'm going to be talking about advisory, quiet time, and transportation. So what I really like about Bugs is that we start each morning on Mondays to Thursdays with advisory, which is a small group, and it's a chance to really get to know a community outside of your classes. And at the beginning of the year, we started off with being with our advisory for like 3 days and having an orientation around like most of the whole school. And then on after advisories and after lunch, we have quiet time, which is a few minutes where we just get to rest in peace kind of and just like make sure that like think about how our day's been going and will go. And also, so there's a lot of transportation near Bugs, and so there's a lot of buses and trains that you can get off to. And at first at the school year, my parents started by taking the bus with me, and now I feel safe traveling on my own because there's always a lot of Bugs kids that travel with you. And also my friend Mia, who actually will be going next, also takes the bus with me. And we actually aren't in any classes together. We just know each other from the bus.
That's so sweet. Thanks, Sadie, for sharing. Mia, how about you?
Thanks, Sadie. So, I'm Mia. I went to PS 38 last year, and I remember when I was going to Bugs, I was really nervous and also partially confused because I didn't know how everyone's different knowledge would contribute to like what we would learn in class. And I remembered like, what if I was behind everyone? What if it was too easy for me? And I found that at Bugs, it's the teachers are really adaptive to what you know, and there's a lot of things that we have in the classes that make it really really a good environment for you even if you need some help in other areas. And there's two teachers in every subject, which means that we get a lot of individualized learning and small groups too, so that we all get to talk to each other, and we get to learn more even if we aren't at the same level of everyone in our classes. Thanks.
Thanks for sharing that, Mia. That's really important. I think it's a very critical aspect of our Bugs culture. So those are my amazing 6th grade ambassadors. Great job, guys. And now I am going to introduce some 7th graders who had this job last year and have moved into the role of explaining a day in the life of a Bugs student. So Bodhi and Dylan, I'm going to kick it over to you. And Malcolm, you can go to the next slide, please.
Hi, I'm Bodhi. My name is Bodhi, and I'm a 7th grader at Bugs. And there's a lot I like about Bugs, such as staying in the same section with the same students as you rotate during the day, so you can make quality friends. And teachers are also very nice and friendly and care about you. Additionally, we have sustainability class, which many schools don't have, and we get field studies once a month, which you will learn more about later in the presentation. I'm glad to provide you with an overview of a morning in the life of a Bug student. In the morning, I usually arrive at 7:50, but doors open at 7:45. You can go to the cafeteria and get breakfast, sit down with friends and hang out, or even go to the recess yard until around 8 a.m., where we then go up to our lockers to drop off our coats and gloves and other accessories you have, and then walk up to our advisory. Advisory is a nice way to start the day because it's a small group of kids, about 12 to 5, who are in your section and other sections too. First thing you do during advisory is hand in your phone and receive your Chromebook. Monday and Wednesdays are academic days, so we can work on homework or assignments. You can also discuss with your advisor about your grades or any questions you have about your classes. On the other days, there are lessons such as accountable talk, how to move from a fixed to a growth mindset, how the brain works, how to manage stress, and work/time management skills. There's also one day a week that's dedicated to a sustainability topic. Near the end of advisory, we have quiet time from 9:01 to 9:04. Quiet time is used to reset your brain and mind. During quiet time, you sit quietly and concentrate on your breathing. After advisory, you have 3 classes that are each about 57 minutes long. You can see a list of classes and enrichment classes on here on the slide. A big difference between Bugs and other schools is that at Bugs we have separate reading and writing classes that each part of ELA gets a very focused study. All classes are taught by 2 teachers, and this is nice because sometimes one teacher will teach the whole class and you can have one-on-one check-ins with the other teacher. And now I will introduce Dylan, who will tell you about the rest of the day.
Thanks, Bodhi. Hi, my name is Dylan, and I'm a 7th grader. I'm also in Bodhi's advisory and class. At this point in the day, we head off to lunch. All the grades have lunch at the same time. What's good about lunch at Bugs is you can eat in the cafeteria with school food or bring your own lunch. There's also a big recess yard with ninja equipment, basketball, and other games. Or, with your family's permission, you can go out to lunch on Prospect Park West within a certain area every single day. And Bug staff are outside too in case you need a time check or help with anything. Lunch is also a time when a lot of clubs meet. However, students will talk about clubs later. After lunch, we have quiet time again. It helps us refocus after recess and get ready for afternoon learning. In the afternoon, we have 2 classes. At the end of the school day, we return to advisory and hand in our laptops and get our phones back. At Bugs, we don't get too much homework, especially in 6th and 7th grade. In 6th grade, we rarely had homework, mostly just reading and occasionally math. In 7th grade, there's math assigned every week, due on Mondays and then through Friday. And if you don't finish your work in class, then you can finish it at home. When the school day ends, we also have the option of attending office hours if we want, or if the teacher asks us to. Office hours are very helpful. You can go to any class and get help on an assignment, do your homework, make up a test, finish an assignment, and get extra help on certain topics. Office hours will end at 3:15 p.m. Now, I will reintroduce Bodhi to talk about after school.
After school is a very fun way to end the day. It's where you can take a break from being cooped up in a classroom all day. When you go down to the cafeteria after you get your phones, you hand in your phone again, and before you go back up to your classroom and study hall, you hang out in the cafeteria for a little bit, and you can hang out with your friends and eat snack. And the next thing we do after the cafeteria is we go upstairs and we start study hall, which is basically like office hours where you can just finish homework, work on old assignments, or just read if you've completed everything. After that, we do STEM or leadership, and then you can do your program activity, which could be soccer, cooking, sports, cinema, kids, Lego robotics, and much more, where you can also go outside at that time. After school ends at around 5:45, where they hand out our phones back. Now I will pass on the presentation to Miss Carlin.
Hello. Thank you. That was great. You did such a good job of explaining our school day. Excellent. We can go to the next slide, please. Hi, good evening. My name is Laura Carlin. I'm the Sustainability Program Manager. Buenas noches a todos. Soy la programadora de sostenibilidad en Bugs. And I'm going to share with you a bit about how we integrate sustainability school-wide. I am both a parent and an administrator at Bugs, and I'm also a founding teacher. So I've been at Bugs since it was first started over 10 years ago. So I've enjoyed being at Bugs. I believe in it. It's done an amazing job of educating our students and sharing more about the systems that in their city and in their world and how they can be a part of making a difference there. So as you can see in this visual, this helps to show how we educate for sustainability school-wide. We have student support services that you'll hear more about. We have gardens, and our buildings and operations also are part of how we share sustainability with students and how we do the work as a whole community. Our content area classes all have an Educating for Sustainability standard embedded into each of the content classes, and we also have special sustainability courses that have grade level themes, which I'll talk about on the next slide. We don't just want to talk about sustainability, we want to do it. So we embed community action projects throughout our curriculum, and we have big culminating project at the end of the year that I have some students that will share more information about that also on the next slide. We have student leadership organizations. We believe strongly in student voice, and so we have a lot of opportunities for students to express their voice and take leadership roles. We have a lot of community partnerships because we can't do this alone. It takes a village. So we work with a lot of community partners to educate our students and get them out in the world. And we do that through our monthly field study. I think I'm ready for the next slide. Thank you. So here on this slide, I'm going to explain to you a little bit about how we educate for sustainability. I told you some of the different ways and where it lives, but one of the big parts of our program is what we call grade level themes, in which students focus on a grade level theme in each grade and learn about that system from an interdisciplinary perspective. So for 6th grade, we focus on soil, plant life, and food systems. So they work on the Bugs gardens. They talk about food equity and they actually work in our hydroponics labs and learn how that works. They plant seeds, they watch them grow, they see what they need, they harvest it, they cook. So we really support students in having a very direct and engaging connection with our food systems, and they learn about it in all of their different content area classes and on their field studies. For 7th grade, our focus is water systems. We have a very interesting and elaborate water system here in New York City. So it's a perfect outdoor classroom and real world example of how, we have our own school, our city, and then how that connects to the larger water cycles of the planet. And so in 7th grade, they do a deep dive into water systems. 8th grade focuses on energy and air quality. And so as the students build through their 3 years, they sort of take on bigger and bigger systems, and maybe a little more abstract systems too, as they learn about the world around them. So some of the 6th grade projects are, like I said, keeping our gardens healthy and thriving. Composting is a big focus for 6th grade also, because there's a lot of additional information they can learn about waste diversion, about what it takes to build healthy soils and healthy gardens. There's a lot of great curriculum connections that they can learn through composting. Again, like I said, we have a hydroponics lab at Bugs, which is an amazing way to continue to teach them systems thinking and how to grow during the winter when it's cold and dormant outside. So I'm going to bring on Maria, who's one of our 8th grade students and has been with us for 3 years and has gone through most of our program now, since she's only got a few months left. And she's going to share a bit about our community action projects, which is a big part of what we do, because we want students to really become agents of change in their community and become engaged community members. And so taking action is a very important piece of our program. So Maria, are you there? And can you share? Oh, there you are. Can you share with us about your experience at Bugs and your experience with the community action projects?
Yeah, hi. So my name is Maria. I'm an 8th grader at Bugs. I've done quite a bit of these info sessions, and it's my 3rd year here. And yeah, so one of the projects that really shows this and really stood out to me, so especially sustainability focused, is one that we did in sustainability class last year in 7th grade for me, called the Blue Schools Design Project. And it's a citywide project that a lot of schools have done before us, but each school gets to do it their own way. And Bugs thought that it would be a great idea to get our students perspective on this citywide project, or the project that a lot of schools in the city does. And so pretty much what the Blue Schools Design Project is that we did research on green spaces, and we didn't just immediately jump into the project. We had units at the beginning of the year, about the water system of New York City, and the history of the water system, how it's been in the past versus how it is now. And that all of those units kind of led up to this project that we got to collaborate on. And we just got so many multiple perspectives and really brought in this interdisciplinary focus to sustainability class, where everything is involved. There's speaking and listening standard, there's kind of social studies involved because of the history of New York City's waterways. There's obviously sustainability, and there's math going into this project, writing and reading and research, and just kind of bringing all of these skills and applying them to a project to help the school come up with a possible plan, or help the city come up with a possible plan for more eco-friendly schools. So pretty much what the project is that we did research on green spaces, and we also sent out surveys to the students, or surveyed the students, asking them what they would want to see more of in the school, if they wanted more sports or more flowers in the gardens, or what they wanted in common areas. And we took all this into consideration when completely redesigning our school, to make it more sustainable and to make it more enjoyable for the students, and really just get that student perspective into how the school gets designed. Now, obviously, it's not realistic to implement everything that all of the students say, but the project was just the intention of the project was so just such a good way of involving all of the students and really like explaining how the water systems of New York City work and how we could like avoid combined sewage overflow, which is something we learned about. I don't know if anyone knows what that is, but like avoid all of these problems and how we're contributing to the problem as with the waste that we have, that we do, and also the school, like in our personal lives and also the school, and kind of just redesigning that, rethinking that whole idea. So the process was pretty much, we first designed a bubble diagram, which is kind of just like a very rough draft of how you want the school to look, because it's kind of called a bubble diagram because you can move the bubbles around and they aren't perfect squares or anything. And then we did a scaled drawing. So we got all of the measurements of the school and we drew the school, except we redesigned it with all of the additions that the students wanted to put into this new idea of what our school could look like. And then most groups, maybe even all groups in my class at least, were able to get to a 3D model of the school. And while some groups did this in person and the models were incredible, a lot of the students chose to do the 3D model online. And then we got to apply, we did it through a program called Tinkercad, and we got to apply the skills we learned in tech class, and like we learned how to use Tinkercad in tech class, and we got to kind of use that too in sustainability. So for the kids who were more tech oriented or more like handy or crafts type of people, you could kind of just involve that into the academics and the sustainability aspect too. So yeah, it's just, I found it really cool how it was like, it was a citywide project and we just got to completely we were so aware of how much waste we were adding to the water systems of New York City and how we could kind of avoid that and how we could add more green spaces to our school. And after, when we were done with the project, we even were able to present it to the community. Like parents came in, staff came in, the building manager of the school came in, and just all of these people who are willing to listen to our student perspective on how to make the school a more eco-friendly place. And that was a project that really stood out to me for that, for the like interdisciplinary focus and how much we were able to get done and how much we were able to learn.
Amazing, Maria. Thank you so much for doing such a good job of explaining that project, and your enthusiasm and what you learned really shone through. So thank you so much for giving everybody a bit of a perspective of what we do and how we do it and how it affects our students. So thanks so much. And now I'm going to pass it off to Mrs. Kanisha Maxwell, who's going to share a bit more about our curriculum in our academic program. So take it away, Mrs. Maxwell.
Thank you so much, Ms. Carlin, and good evening to everyone. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. We know you could be anywhere and you decided to be here with us, and we are grateful as we get a little opportunity to share with you what goes on in this building, this very special building, Bugs. And so tonight I have the opportunity as the Assistant Principal of Humanities to speak on behalf of our Assistant Principal of STEAM. Unfortunately, she's not able to be here. So I have the opportunity to speak about math, science, enrichment, as well as humanities. So please just stay tuned. Also, you'll get an opportunity to hear from students as well. And so let's go ahead and turn to the next slide. Thank you so much. So here, the math curriculum. It's a focus in math 6th, 7th, and 8th. We use Desmos, which it's a learning platform which allows for tracking individual student progress in real time of every student and brings visual representation of math problems. That is our hope by using this curriculum. The updated curriculum should provide a more hands-on and visual approach. Additionally, it is a blended curriculum, and its online platform, again, should provide students a way to share their work instantaneously with the class, and it should allow each student to demonstrate their learning to each other, as well as provide opportunity for real-time feedback from their teachers. Also, Bugs focuses on building the foundation through Math 6 and Math 7, as well as through Math 8 for a higher level of math, which builds for us here algebra and geometry. So while Algebra 1 is not a specified course, there are many opportunities over the course of the year for students to prep for Algebra 1 and the Algebra 1 Regents exam, which, based on teacher recommendation and of course parent and student desire, students have the opportunity to take that Regents exam, and once they pass, receive full course credit for Algebra 1, which we know is a high school course. Our science curriculum, please note we are a member of Urban Advantage, and that provides our science teachers with unique professional development, as well as provide, and I think Mrs. Davis spoke about this earlier, our students with many more opportunities to be projects-based and provide free opportunities for different things such as passes to the New York Aquarium and other outside of school learning opportunities. And so we also have our enrichments or our specials, which are a variety of programs that we will discuss a little bit more into the program. And they're subject to change each year. And so at this time, I'm going to jump a little bit into the humanities program. And so if we can move to that slide, please. And again, all of your questions, please, they will be answered later on. So please just keep a tuned in ear. So for our humanities program, and in a moment, I'm going to pause my voice and I'm going to ask Maria to come back so you can hear a student perspective. But here we approach reading and writing as separate classes, and we use a particular learning platform or curriculum, the Teachers College Workshop model, which teachers have the opportunity to adapt and modify based on the needs of the students before them. And so here, social studies, I want to just jump into social studies a little bit. We know that student voice and promoting agency is something that Bugs endeavors to do. And in our social studies space, that is something that we encourage, and we see it based on the learning activities from the teachers, such as accountable talk, our Socratic seminars, fishbowl conversations, mock trials, and a myriad of other very creative and well-designed learning activities. And so I'm just going to pause here and I'm going to ask Maria to jump back in and really offer her perspective, particularly after 3 years of being here at Bugs. Go ahead, Maria, please.
Okay, thank you. So yeah, I'll just finish off, I guess, talking about social studies and move more into ELA. But so yeah, for humanities, we have a project-based learning focus. So none of the humanities classes, math sometimes, I think none of the classes, math sometimes gives us worksheets, but no humanity classes and no classes in general give us like actual worksheets, especially for people coming from like elementary school into 6th grade. It's like you're very much used to this format of getting like a worksheet as homework, and then it was given on Monday and it's due on Friday every week. And we don't have that. Some may say we don't have homework, but we do often have to do projects at home, or if we didn't finish work in class, we have to do it at home. But we don't have that. We don't have homework in that traditional sense of getting a worksheet and getting a due date, and that's it. So we kind of see that very much so in all of our humanities classes. So like in social studies, for example, some of the hands-on projects that we have are like accountable talks, which are somewhat like debates, but they kind of bring more perspectives to the table. It's like every student, which is like a class of almost 30 students, has their own perspective. And it can be like, maybe there's all pro something, or they're all con something, or they're somewhere in this broad gray spectrum in the middle. And just every student gets to bring their own opinion to the table and look for evidence in support of that. And I just think that you work on it, like you do your research, you find your evidence, you make your claim, and you work on it for maybe sometimes a couple weeks or something, and then you come into the classroom and you talk about it. And it's all just like a safe space where everyone wants to hear everyone's perspective and why they think what they think. So that's like accountable talks, and that also happens in writing class. Like we had a debate called a fishbowl debate where we were able to study in smaller groups with each other. Like we were all doing research and researching our side of the argument, and then the entire class sits around you in a circle, and you do the debate against like 3 other people. It's 3 versus 3. And then the entire class kind of gives you their input. So it's like, oh, this is what you did well. This is what I want to know more of. This is what you didn't leave clear, like that kind of thing. So there's that like interactive part to all of the projects that we do. We like almost always present, and sometimes it's optional and often it's not, which is important to kind of get students used to having to present even when it feels uncomfortable. But especially I remember in 6th grade, it was a lot more often optional in 6th grade if I wanted to present or not, just because like you get used to it. But yeah, so like in social studies also, so we do accountable talks, and we also like kind of connect history, and we look at a lot of historical events from the US, and like we connect that to current events, and we see if have we learned from our mistakes, what is happening, is this still an issue today, like and how do historical events have an impact on who we are as a society, as a country now. So that's really cool to see like how all of these historical things have such an impact on our current lives and what's going on in the world around us today. And just I personally, social studies class has been my favorite all 3 years at Bugs. So all classes are great, but so I just find it so fun how like in social studies, the teachers kind of always find a way. Like history is not everyone's favorite subject. A lot of people I talk to get bored by it, but the teachers always find a way to make this fun, creative, engaging learning environment so that we can really understand the topic and also want to learn, not just learn for consuming information and just like getting it done by the due date. Which is really cool about the whole project-based idea. It's that it's not really, none of it is busy work. It's mostly because you want to learn, because they're getting you curious. They're making you want to learn more about whatever topic is at hand. And like, you are the owner of your project. You have a topic, yes, but you can do whatever, almost anything you want with it. It's your creativity, and it's at your disposal. And then for writing, we do a lot of essays, like sometimes we've done argumentative essays, we've done research essays, we've done like fiction works as well, and nonfiction. And I'm kind of thinking right now just 8th grade, but I also kind of looking back on the previous years, we've written like full stories. We have the fishbowl debates, and one particular thing I wanted to point out for writing class was one project that has I did this at the very beginning of the year, and I still remember it very well and fondly, which is called the Mafia article. That's what we titled it. But pretty much we played a game of Mafia in class, and an investigative journalist had come in a couple classes before to tell us about his experience as a journalist and like some of the hardships he faces and why he does his job and why he loves it. And so we kind of pretended that we were investigative journalists, and we played a game of Mafia, and then we wrote an article with evidence and with a hook and all the details about what actually happened in that game of Mafia, as if we were a real town. And then for reading, something similar to that also stood out to me was one time we recreated this old kind of play called 12 Angry Men. So it took us a couple classes to read through the script. Each person had their own character, and then we wrote a whole lawyer statement on it, defending the guy in the story, the main character, or going against him. You could choose whatever you wanted as long as you had evidence for it. And just really applying that, all of these things that we're learning from not only whatever class you're in, but all of the classes, kind of just bringing it together and being able to put together work, research, write, and then present it in front of a whole class and actually be curious about what you're learning. And so project-based learning, it's not just busy work. It's like a lot of homework tends to be. So it is a lot of thinking and it's a lot of work, but it is so worth it and it's so engaging. And I just find that that's really cool and kind of unique about this school because not a lot of other middle schools offer that. Yeah, something else we've done in reading classes, like we have this whole project-based idea. We have long-term projects, so we read a whole book, and then we have a project that we have about like 2 months, a month to complete. Like they give us a book and then they tell us in 2 months this project is due based on this book that you're reading. And then in the middle we have all these mini projects where we're doing just reading short texts and answering a couple questions or putting together a slideshow, just smaller projects in between like a bigger one that we're going to present, and that becomes a whole thing. And also a lot of teachers are very creative with the ways of presenting. Like sometimes it is one student gets up to present to the whole class, but often it's like a gallery walk, or it's like you present to just a small group of students instead of like the whole class. And so I guess it's just Bugs is really about bringing creativity and academics together and really finding students' comfort zones, pushing them out of their comfort zones a little bit, but also creating still this safe environment where you feel like you can just say what you need to say and do your work to the best of your ability. And it doesn't have to be like in a formula or in a certain way. Everyone does it differently, and that like it always works out for everybody. Yeah.
So awesome. And I want to stand up and give Maria a round of applause. Job well done, thorough, insightful. What a great perspective. So many nuggets for families. And if prospective students are listening, you heard it here. She said it's worth it. There's critical thinking. There are things just for you. And she talked about the fact that the teachers are in it with her, providing pushes was as necessary, but standing there to support. So shout out to you, Maria. Shout out to our teachers who have encouraged this, supported this kind of thinking, and have allowed this space in Maria and the rest of the students that we've had the opportunity to hear. So I want to give like 5 claps, 2 stomps, all of the things. Thank you so much. So at this time, we have an opportunity to hear from Sophia, who is a 6th grader and our Hornet Headlines reporter, and she has something special for us.
Hi, thank you. So basically, I'm going to interview two people named Mr. Nee and Dr. Dean Cobb. The first question, please introduce yourselves actually first.
I'll go first. I'm not a doctor, but I do appreciate the ambition you're putting into my life. I am Dean Cobb. I am the dean of students, and it's my first year at Bugs. I'm gonna pass it off to Mr. Nee.
Hi everyone, I'm Daniel Nee. I'm the Director of Inclusion and Assessments at Bugs. Like Dean Cobb, this is also my first year at Bugs. I'm coming to Bugs after working at a charter school in Harlem for the last 10 years.
Okay, so a question for Mr. Cobb. How do you think students' environment affects their education? Do you think it affects them negatively or positively?
I think a student's environment deeply affects their education. I think the willingness to want to learn is a lot of times motivated by their environment. I think what Bugs does a great job at is creating safe spaces for students. I think inviting students in, I think they are able to see themselves in the staff, as well as I think for just being a place where not just 6th graders are hanging out with 6th graders, but also across the board where I see 8th graders and 7th graders, 6th graders all hang out with each other. and that cross learning and just cross participation between all groups and all parties is really great. And I think the overall, as you heard Maria and everyone on here, it's just a place that is infectious with learning and wanting to strive and do better. So I think environment and culture is really big and for us students learning and pushing their academics.
Okay, thank you. Another question for you. Can you describe your vision for the building community at Bugs? Sorry, Cobb.
Oh, sorry.
No, that's okay.
My apologies. Can you ask the question one more time? Someone was leaving out of my apartment. Sorry, my apologies. Go for it. Yes.
So can you describe your vision for building a community at Bugs?
Yes. So the biggest thing as far as building, I think is already kind of embedded into Bugs community. I think this inclusive environment. I think we're really good at inviting people in. I think inviting into classrooms where you see other people going into other people's classrooms, whether there's like a mock trial going on. You see parents coming in often, and we have a great PTA, which builds part of the community. It's not just about students. It's about inside environment, outside environment. You'll see this thing where kids are bringing themselves into there. I think yesterday we had kids bringing in food scraps, things for fundraisers. Also a restorative community. Things may happen in the community where someone may cause harm to the community, and making sure that we restore that in our community in a way that not only heals the student, but also heals the community if that ever so happens. Also a place of celebration. We have some great celebrations. If you were at the friendship dance, I mean, kids were in there sweating. Mr. Kid had that whole place downstairs shaking. And I think a place where people can see their identities, whether it be Hispanic Heritage Month, where we're dancing, maybe doing salsa in the cafeteria, to Black History Month, where we have a museum, Women's History Month. We just had a museum last week where people came in, and it was just a place where people's identities are being celebrated and uplifted and spotlighted. And I think that is the vision overall for Bugs, for us creating an inclusive environment and also a place where that cascades off in the community when it comes to sustainability. Thank
you. A question for Mr. Nee. What's one of the things that you like about Bugs, and how inclusive it is? What are you doing behind the scenes to help us feel that way? And how do you support kids with different learning styles? Can you tell us more about your team?
Sure. One of the things I like the most about working at Bugs is that we really put forth the time and energy and create the space to truly be an inclusive classroom. As you can see on the screen, we have a fully ICT model, which means that every single class that students go to, there are a gen ed teacher and a special education teacher there to support the kids. We have a really diverse student support team, including our bilingual family coordinator, myself, the director of inclusion. We have 2 amazing guidance counselors, a full-time E&L teacher, and a full-time learning specialist teacher, as well as our student affairs team and our in-house tech team. All these people are people that are hired at Bugs to support the various needs of our students. We know that not every student is the same, and that students all learn differently, learn at different rates, and need different things to succeed. So one of the things I'm really proud about at working at Bugs is that we have lots of people there to do that work. And on top of that, we create a lot of time and space for our staff to be able to do that work. So teachers get trainings on the best ways to support a wide variety of learners. Teachers have weekly and even daily time where they can plan with their co-teacher to think about the different students in their classroom and what they might need in that specific classroom. And then we have after school hours when the students have gone home, where the teachers are coming together to further plan out supports for specific students and for their class overall. So we do a lot of things to make it so that when our kids are in the building, they're getting all the support they need.
Okay, thank you. Another question for you. How do you build classrooms that are comfortable for students?
Well, the first and most important thing we do is we have amazing teachers in the building. And I'm sure you would agree, Sophia, that the teachers that we have hired to work at Bugs are passionate, are highly talented, highly qualified, and truly care about supporting all the students in their classroom. And then, as I said before, the other big thing is that we go out of our way to make sure there is time and space to plan and to support our kids. It takes a lot of time and energy for your teachers to put together those amazing lessons that are hands-on, that are innovative, that kind of feel different each day and are working for all different types of learners. And so we really make sure that there's time for our amazing teachers to do that. And finally, we have lots of ways for student voice, because we want to hear what you all have to say, whether it be things like Hornet Headlines, which you're a part of, or our student council, our National Junior Honors Society. There's lots of different ways for students to advocate for themselves and share what they need.
Okay, thank you. A question for Dean Cobb. How would you imagine would be the best way for teachers and students to learn with each other?
I think the best way for students and teachers to learn from each other is hearing each other out. I think teachers hold a lot of information, and so do students. And you are a wealth of knowledge. And I think I always say teaching is transactional. They are giving students information, and students are also giving back information, not just regurgitating the information that was given to them. And as far as creating a space, once again, as Mr. Danny had explain about the student voice. The student voice is really important. That students feel that they have a place where they can advocate for themselves and they are being heard, and that it's a place that they are upheld in. And same back as far as that mutual understanding that teachers and students both hold value and there's mutual respect there. I think that's the best way for teachers and students to realize the value in one another and create a place that can just be magical if both parties are willing to learn from each other.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for this great information. I'm happy to pass the slide to the wonderful Miss Davis.
Thank you so much, Sophia. That was wonderful hearing from you. We've met earlier. I'm Miss Davis, 6th grade science teacher. I'm also the 6th grade team leader, and it is my best job to be the advisor for Student Council and for the National Junior Honor Society. So I have 2 student representatives who are going to talk about their experiences at clubs, how it enriches them. And one thing you may have figured out by now, especially after all our students talk, student voice is incredibly important at Bugs. It is a huge part of our culture. It's part of our CARES values. Raising students to be advocates in the world is something that we really value. So having said that, I'm going to call on Rook, who is both on the Executive Council for Student Council and for National Junior Honor Society, to talk about how our clubs have enriched your experience at Bugs and made you just a more well-rounded student.
All right. Hello. That was a great segue. So, as Ms. Davis said, I am on the executive board for Student Council and NJHS. So, I know, like in the meeting and in the chat a little bit, we've kind of been dipping into clubs. I mean, for me, clubs. My clubs are my personal favorite part of Bugs, just because unlike other schools, clubs really clubs that both enrich the students and also allow students to be free. So, I mean, so I saw at least 2 questions in the chat about certain clubs, and some of the answers were that students can create their own clubs. So that's one of the great things about them. If you can find a teacher who is willing to be an advisor for a specific club that you want to start, then you can create a club and have people join it. So on the slide, there's a list of a few clubs that we have. I'll mostly be talking about the 2 leadership clubs, Student Council and NJHS. So Student Council is pretty much the big leadership club. So anybody can join at pretty much any time. You don't have to make an application. It's every Tuesday in the 6th grade science room, and we focus on community building projects. Up on the slide on the top left is just last year where we did Operation Holiday Child, packing and boxing gifts for people in need in other countries that don't get that don't have that much privilege, or whose parents or family cannot afford to get them the gifts that they need. And all those gifts are donated by either student council members or family members or just the general community. And we do a lot of other projects, like we frequently do fundraising bake sales, either for trips or for whatever month theme it is. So in April, we're doing Autism Awareness Month. In March, we're doing Women's History Month and Kindness Month. And then last month in February, we did Black History Month. So a lot of these bake sales and community service projects are annual. And moving on to NJHS. So NJHS is for students that have a high academic performance. In order to get into NJHS, you have to write an application of how you will incorporate two of, I think, 5 NJHS values in like 2 paragraphs, and you must have a GPA in academic classes of 3.5 or above in standards-based grading. So in NJHS, we do even more community service projects, often much like a student council, much like those of student council, but much of the NJHS projects are based on more intense, I don't really know how to say this, but more intense holidays. So I mean, just today in NJHS, we made paracord bracelets for war, soldiers at war. And a lot of the times we do donations to people in need that are often in the military or need help with food, toiletries. So we do a lot more of, so in NJHS, we do a lot more of donating to people in need and fundraising for those kinds of things. And you can look at some of the other clubs. We have websites for Student Council and NJHS on bugsbrooklyn.org, so you can check those out. Thanks.
Thank you so much, Rook, for that. I'm glad that you brought up the paracord bracelets. We did make those today. So I told Rook that he helped save a life. They are bracelets that are being given to the military that can be unstrung very quickly to use in life-saving measures. And so for our last student panel, you've heard from her once, twice, ever third time fabulous, the Maria. Maria, you also saved a life today by making a wonderful paracord bracelet in NJHS. Would you like to tell us how clubs have enriched your experience here at Bugs and created a school culture for you? Close us out.
Yeah, for sure. So hi again. Last year, so clubs have been like a huge part of my experience at Bugs. Last year, I started a debate team. I got two teachers to co-sponsor me, my from teachers from last year, and we would meet every Wednesday. And it was just wonderful because I was making presentations every week, and I was like just doing so much research on debating. It was something I was and still am very passionate about. And I remember being so excited when I was choosing the Canva format and then making my little presentations and like researching all of these different ways of debating and like all of these different topics that we could debate. And I just kind of was like, I kind of want to do this. And I got two teachers to sponsor me for it. And then I put up flyers, and my friends were just like helping me and supporting me. And they were like, of course, we are going to go. And it gained a lot more popularity than I thought it would. But it was great. So many people were coming to the meetings, and like some tried it out and it wasn't for them. And some people didn't start until weeks after the club had started. And they were like, wow, I love it here. And just like being able to have that environment where I was learning, but it was something that I was very passionate about. And I found people who were also very passionate about it. And we were all just kind of doing this work and debating. And we were planning on continuing this year so we could actually go debate with other schools in the city. But then one of the teachers left the school and the other one was on maternity leave. And with all of the high school application stuff, I think it became a little bit too much. But I still was able to maintain, because I was doing debate and JHS and student council last year, but I was still able to like stay in student council and NJHS, which is what I really love to do. And I also loved debate, but like managing it all ended up not being possible when the sponsors left. But while we were doing that, I remember how excited I was that I was able to like create my own club, which is still kind of crazy to me. It's like that was so cool. I was able to go to the meetings, start it or shut it off whenever I wanted, and just all of these people who were like kind of like in a way we just found something that even if we had completely different opinions on everything else, like there was this one thing that we just all met every Wednesday in one room to do together. And there was a little mini community that I found in my debate team. And I was like, at the beginning of the year last year, I was like, I kind of want to debate with people, and I kind of want to start a team for that and research more about how we could debate citywide. And it just happened. And I felt like that was such a cool resource that I get to have at this school, that's just kind of like starting my own club just because I'm into it and because I find my community there. And even now, like in NJHS, we're doing all of these fun things. We actually had a meeting today, and where we made the bracelets, and like just all of these new projects. We're going to DC for a conference, and then in student council, all of the fundraisers and bake sales, like Brooke was saying, that we've done. And just being able to see the student body have so much voice through clubs, through literally 40 minutes once a week during your lunch period, and watching us get so much done is just so cool to see. And having the opportunity to join any club whenever you want, and also start a club if you really want to. I just think that that's so unique to Bugs and such a fun opportunity that really makes your middle school experience that much more special, for sure.
Brooke and Maria, I couldn't have said it any better. I take it back. I said hands-on learning was my favorite. Absolutely not. Student voice is my favorite. And as you can see from the screen, we also have National Green Schools, which Miss Laura talked about, the BPC, which is the Brooklyn Pride Community, a theater club, yearbook, anime, art, film. Miss Louisa talked about Dungeons and Dragons before. All of our teachers spend our lunch hours doing really phenomenal things with kids. And having said that, Maria, I happen to have Thursday lunches available, so if you'd like to debate, come and see me then. Thank you so much for listening to our fabulous students and letting them show you their student voice. And now I am going to pass it off, and we are going to hear more about the nuts and bolts of the school and all the things that you've probably been waiting all night for. So have a wonderful evening.
Thanks, Lucy. Can we go to the next slide, please? Thanks, Malcolm. Hi, y'all. I am Kay Tolson. I'm the Director of Operations at Bugs. And like Maria, I have been to a lot of these virtual info sessions for Bugs. And every time I learn something new, and I'm so re-inspired by what the students have to say. So these are nuts and bolts, but they're not nearly as interesting as the things that our students and teachers have had to say. Most of these items we have covered either in the chat or in another slide or by another speaker. So I'm gonna whiz through them a little bit. And this whole slide deck and the recording will be available on the website very soon, probably by tomorrow, the next day, if not before. And I did want to just mention really quickly something from the prior slide around high school admissions and applications. We have, as Dan mentioned, 2 fantastic guidance counselors, and one of them, Miss Annalie, helps our students through that high school application process and also supports families. So she gives really individualized attention to every student and to every family in engaging in the high school process. And as someone who has been through it twice with my own children, it's a doozy. So it's really good to have all the help you can get. So Bugs is great with that too. Okay, I'm going to move quickly so that we can get to some Q&A. We have about 300 students. That varies from year to year. This year we have actually about 320 currently, and right around 60 teachers and staff members. We have, of course, 3 grades, and there are 4 cohorts on each grade. So that means, if you do your math, that our average class size is generally somewhere between 26 and 28 students. It does vary a little bit from grade to grade and year to year, depending on the exact number of students we have on each grade. And as noted previously, all of our core content classes are co-taught on an ICT model. Even most of our non-core classes, our enrichment classes, still have 2 adults, a teacher and a teaching assistant in the room. We do use school food for free breakfast and lunch provided, and students can go off campus for lunch, as you heard, as long as they have permission from their families. That's a big hit. We also have lockers, lots of them, and we will assign them to you at the students at the beginning of the school year. We also have a uniform policy. You can see all the details about it on our website. We have a dress code, but the uniform policy is just you have to have a Bugs uniform on top. So your shirt or hoodie or whatever it may be. For this year, our schedule is 8:04 a.m. is when school starts. We tell kids to get here by 8, but as you heard, the doors open at 7:45 for breakfast and recess. And we are done at 2:55, but we have office hours until 3:15, 4 days a week. So again, that's this year's schedule. It could vary a little bit for next year. And as soon as we do have the calendar and the schedule ready, we will post that on the website. We're working on both of those things now, and we hope to have them finalized in the next month or so. I will say about the calendar that we almost always start before the DOE, and we usually end around the same time as the DOE. We align with the DOE with holidays and those longer breaks. So those are almost always exactly the same. Where we do differ is, of course, our start date. We usually start earlier in the school year, and our conference days and professional development days. So those are the places where we'll differ, but that will all be detailed in the calendar, which should be available later this spring. We do issue Metro cards that are assigned through the Office of Pupil Transportation to anyone who lives more than a half a mile from Bugs. We do not have bus service unless you have a student who has busing mandated on their IEP, in which case we will provide that as it is recommended in the IEP. We also do, as I see is happening in the chat, we have a one-to-one tech program, meaning that students, we have enough laptops for every student to have a laptop in class as needed. And first, we do also support at-home tech for those students for whom it's necessary. You also probably heard mention that student cell phones are not allowed. during the school day. So when kids come in advisory, they turn in their phones and they pick up their laptops, and then they go through school all day with their school issued laptop. And then at the end of the day, they come back to advisory briefly to do that swap again and get their cell phone back before they leave for the day. And it's worked out, I think, really beautifully. If we have a time for Q&A at the end, I'm sure you can ask some of the students to chime in on how they feel about that. And as you've also heard, we do have a robust after-school program that is free through the DYCD, Department of Youth and Community Development, that we partner with, and they have an office at the school, and they provide after school until 5:45, 5 days a week. And you can see that there's a lot more info on our website there. Oh, that was a lot. But that's the basic nuts and bolts. And hopefully that's given you what you need. There's so much more on the website. So if you have more questions, please check there or email us at admissions@bugsbrooklyn.org. Do we want to go to the next slide and then we can do Q&A? Yeah, so I just wanted to mention, if you haven't already, please do submit your application. We will have a lottery in April, but the deadline for the lottery to be in the lottery is April 1st. So you have to submit the application to be in that lottery, and we will hold a lottery for 6th, 7th, and 8th grades, although we never know at this point exactly how many spots we'll have for 7th and 8th grade. And those are the kind of spots that even if we have some now, more may open up as we get into the summer. So if you have a specific situation, you have questions around there, please email us. All right, so does anyone want to unmute? I can't answer all the questions, but go ahead and unmute yourself if you have questions. And we're still answering questions in the chat. Advisory or homeroom currently is 57 minutes, 4 days a week. And please, students and teachers, jump in and chime in, especially if I'm not correct. Been so thorough. We've answered everyone's questions. I'm going to go to the next slide. I think there's one more. Oh, yeah, this is it. So yes, please unmute and ask questions. The lottery is on April 11th, which is also noted on our website, and it's in person and open to all, although you certainly do not have to be there in order to be a part of it. And once the lottery is held, we will notify you of the results electronically, probably the same day, but at least by the following day, by April 12th.